My next guest here is somebody who does not need much by way of introduction here on Showvio, but for anybody who may be new, Jeff is, in my mind, the premier talk show host in the country, especially with a conservative voice. His radio career has taken him across the country from North Carolina to Florida and now to Boston, where he is the morning drive host on Rush Radio 1200 every weekday morning from 5 until 9. And he was the very first voice ever heard on Showvio.com about a year ago now. Please welcome to the program the great Jeff Katz. Good evening, Jeff.
Hello, Kevin. Thanks for the very kind introduction. I appreciate it.
Yep, I'm going to tell you, it's hard to believe it's been a year already since Showvio launched, and those were some pretty rough days back in the beginning, but on behalf of everybody here at Showvio, we all miss you very, very much at 11 o'clock every morning.
Oh, I appreciate it. I miss Showvio as well. My friend Leslie Gold, I know, is doing a tremendous job, and what an innovative product, just a truly unique way to deliver content, and I see big things ahead for Showvio.
Absolutely, and we appreciate you spending part of your day here, know how busy you are, so we'll get right into some of the topics of the day. The 2010 election promises to be one of the more intriguing in recent memory, and there's a couple of races that are even more intriguing than the election itself. Out in Nevada, Sharon Angle and Harry Reid have been tangling with one another. It's a back-and-forth race. They've debated on national TV. What do you expect out of that race in Nevada?
Well, I'll tell you, it is one of the more interesting races. Sharon Angle was a former state legislator, fairly well respected. I don't know that she was a standout state legislator, but certainly a solid one. She certainly has been embraced by members and supporters of the Tea Party, and she secured the nomination, frankly, against all odds. Harry Reid has been senator for forever and a day, and the election offers a couple of very interesting things that don't happen elsewhere in the country. As an example, Nevada has a none above category.
Wow.
So when you're voting for an office, you can read down the candidates, but you still have the option at the end of saying, nah, I don't like any of them. And what I'm hearing from friends and from colleagues out there in Vegas is that the Harry Reid campaign actually has been out there encouraging people to vote none of the above.
Wow. And
they're hoping that that'll be enough to get them across the finish line. The other thing is that Harry Reid's campaign and other Democrats in Nevada have financed another candidate who claims to be running as the representative of the Tea Party of Nevada. That's not actually associated with the Nevada Tea Party. Again, an effort to sort of split these votes. And we're also hearing some reports from suburban Las Vegas that some of the voting machines have been delivered, and there are already votes for Harry Reid on them. So it's interesting to note that people who maintain those machines in Clark County are actually members of the Service Employees International Union, which is a huge supporter of, drumroll please, Harry Reid.
Unbelievable. And, of course, it's always the Democratic Party that seems to be the party complaining about voter irregularities, too, so that makes it all the more ironic, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. And look, Harry Reid is in the battle of his life. His son, Rory Reid, who had been the chair of the Clark County Commission, is running for governor. Interestingly enough, he's only using his first name. Every poster, every campaign commercial simply refers to him as Rory.
Wow.
Doesn't mention his last name. But I think this is the end of the line for Harry Reid. I think Sharon Angle is going to wind up taking that seat.
Okay. Talking to Jeff Katz from Rush Radio 1200 in Boston. Jeff, another intriguing race that has gotten a lot of national attention is in Delaware. Christine O'Donnell and Chris Coons. Christine, of course, has gotten a lot of negative attention because of some of the things that she said. Can she pull off an upset and beat Chris Coons despite the big polling data that we see in favor of Coons right now?
I think it is virtually impossible for Christine O'Donnell to win, and look, I don't have a crystal ball, and like her, I'm not a witch, so I can't make sort of a prediction. But, I'm also not a Marxist like Mr. Coons.
Right.
But Delaware has only 3 counties in it. People forget this. Newcastle County, which is Wilmington, Delaware, is more of a big city feel, closer to Philadelphia, much more liberal, heavily Democrat. That's Chris Coons' base. And the other 2 counties, a little further south, a little more conservative, but they don't have the population that they do up in Newcastle County. So I think it's very difficult. Joe Biden is still very well regarded, very well liked in Delaware. I do think it's interesting, though, that Biden and Barack Obama have both visited Delaware. Now, we're told that it's a runaway, it's a slam dunk, there's no contest there. And it does seem odd to me that they felt that they had to go there. But I think at the end of the day, and I don't really like doing predictions, but I think Chris Coons probably comes out ahead. I think Christine O'Donnell has gotten a bum rap on a lot of stuff. The latest thing was at Widener Law School, where there was the talk about the separation of church and state and the First Amendment. And, she was ripped apart, but certainly my listening to the exchange and watching the exchange, they were talking about the actual words, separation of church and state, and she's right, they're not contained in the First Amendment. They come in 1803 in Jefferson's letter to the Danbury Baptist. So I think she's been treated very unfairly. I think she's run a good campaign. I don't know if it's enough to get her across the finish line, though.
Okay. One of the final races I wanted to talk about is in your former home state of Florida. What in God's name happened to Charlie Crist? I mean, this is a man who now sounds like he is a liberal leftist. What happened to Charlie Crist?
Well, I think the real Charlie Crist is being exposed for all the world to see.
Okay.
Charlie Crist has always been an interesting character. And in all fairness to Charlie Crist has always been all about Charlie Crist.
Okay.
So if he needed to be a Republican to win, that's what he was. If he needed to sound a couple of conservative ideas here and there, that's what he did. But I think Charlie Crist is simply an egomaniac, and he really believed that he could chart a slightly different course, looking to suck up liberal votes, and it's not going to work. Marco Rubio is going to be the next U.S. Senator from Florida, and I think the day after the election is when all of the talk begins about Marco Rubio as a possible presidential or vice presidential nominee. And Charlie Crist, or sorry Charlie Crist, as I used to refer to him, goes back to the governor's office to finish out his term, and then he's done. I'm sure he'll land some sort of a book deal somewhere, but I don't think anybody's going to want to read it.
Speaking of presidential candidates, here in New Jersey, we have sort of all fallen in love, Democrats and Republicans alike, with Chris Christie. Do you think this man has presidential aspirations at all?
Well, I am sure that Chris Christie, like every governor, like every U.S. senator, looks in the mirror in the morning and sees the president.
Yeah.
I think Chris Christie he's a good guy, and I think he's enjoying a honeymoon period. You're in New Jersey, just how toxic John Corzine was.
Oh.
I don't know that people would have thrown a cup of water on the man if he were on fire. So Chris Christie obviously is coming off of that. He's a likable guy. And he seems like a regular guy you'd see, in the neighborhood. He seems easy to talk to. He seems very, very comfortable with himself. I think he's also getting another kiss. When you look at some of the teachers' union shenanigans, the video now has gone wild from your NJEA conventions. Now, what happens after a year or two, I don't know. Does he keep it up? Can he keep it up? You guys in New Jersey are fickle folks, as I recall.
It is true.
I don't know how long it stays, but I know that Chris Christie was just up here in Boston campaigning for Charlie Baker, who's running for governor of Massachusetts. I know he's got a full schedule. He's flying around doing an awful lot of these things, and certainly the first time that Chris Christie visits Iowa, all the clubs.
Of course. One last question on the way out. I know you're not one for predictions, but when all is said and done, will the Republicans have control of one or both of the houses in Congress when all is said and done on Election Day?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's very much doubt that the Republicans will take the House of Representatives. I don't know what the numbers are, and it's interesting to me to watch and study some of the various predictions. You see some of the left-wing leaning organizations saying, well, the Republicans are going to take 80 or 90 or 100 seats. It's interesting who's saying that. It's mostly folks who are on the left.
Yeah.
And I think that's done for a couple of reasons. Number one, to energize their own voters and say, oh my gosh, we've got to stop that. But also so that on November the 3rd, when the votes are counted, and the Republicans probably pick up 50 seats and take control, you will see people standing up and saying, see, well, this is not any sort of a mandate for them because they were supposed to take 90 seats.
Right.
Over on the Senate side, I think Republicans are going to make some real gains. There are 12 seats that are going to be really at stake. If memory serves, the Democrats only have to hold 3 to remain in control, and I think it's probably going to be split. I think the House goes Republican, and the Senate probably stays very close margin, but probably stays Democrat controlled.
And it makes for a very interesting next couple of years for sure. And Jeff Katz, it was a pleasure and an honor to have you back here with me here on Shovio today. I am so grateful, and I do hope you will come back again sometime really, really soon.
Absolutely. My pleasure, Kevin. Please give my best to the entire gang at Shovio, and I look forward to doing it again soon.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff.